Good evening, people. I just thought after such a good performance that it might be worth us having a little debrief now that the dust has settled and taking some questions and really kind of digging into that performance, because I think there's a lot of strange rhetoric going around at the moment. A lot of kind of unnecessary negativity that we won despite this, or this player was great but this one wasn't, or whatever it was. And I felt as probably our best performance in arguably 6 months, and an answer to a lot of the criticisms that Ange has had. It's worth now looking at performance objectively and going over it with you. I know we've got a lot of Australian listeners as well who would have missed the game today and are now probably waking up. So it's quite nice to have a bit of content to look at. Just a 15-20 minute chat. Main pod will be out on Monday as normal. But yeah, I thought, look, let's take this as going over the team and the performance. First of all, I thought the first 30 seconds were obviously a bit of a sucker punch, because a lot of us have been defending the improvements Tottenham have made quite passionately this season, and there have been huge improvements that we've made defensively and both on set pieces and in open play. And then to concede a goal within 30 seconds, which was pretty much the stereotypical goal we've been conceding on a counter-attack that Ange probably gets a bit of unfair stereotyping on, as teams always concede on. However, then following those 30 seconds, you couldn't really have asked for a better reaction. It was absolutely brilliant. It was Ange ball through and through. It was all-out attack, all-out press, but not in a completely gun-ho way that was leaving us exposed to the counter. Brentford were completely overwhelmed by it. And by that, what I mean is, I noticed that the wing-backs weren't pushing up so aggressively that they were leaving us exposed on the counter. He's made tweaks clearly to the way we play to address that, so we don't leave ourselves as exposed as we were before. That was fantastic, but they could not handle that front foot press. Players that we had previously criticised in the past, maybe for not having, should we say, the attitude or whatever the right word is, like James Maddison, were lethal in their press. You can see why Ange was so desperate for Solanke, and why, quite rightly, he was head and shoulders above Tony in terms of what we need. And now I appreciate that. There were moments in that game where, Solanke showed he's not a 10 out of 10 finisher, but he gets himself in very good positions and he's an excellent presser of the ball. And there were numerous times in that games where pretty much all of our opportunities came from winning the ball in the final third, right? It was a high press interception. Brentford couldn't play out from the back because we did such a good job of that. It was absolutely fantastic from that perspective. And there were, for once, I think our standout players were the forward line. And that was really, really refreshing to see, because so often we've felt, we're being bailed out by the fact Mickey van der Ven and Romero and Udogie and Porro are such brilliant players. But the forward line's letting us down. It's not clicking. But today it felt like everything started to slot perfectly into place. And it wasn't a perfect performance. I acknowledge that. But it was definitely an 8 out of 10 performance, which was, I think the key stat that I really like from this game is the first 45 minutes versus Coventry, we didn't have a single shot. We had 19 shots in the first half against Brentford, against significantly better opposition, right, than Coventry. So Ange is clearly adapting, listening, and the players are still behind him. And that was a big takeaway for me today, was there started to creep in a little bit of doubt of, hey, how you doing, Neil? Good to see you, mate. We could have battered anyone the way we played today. It was just a breath of fresh air. You could argue that the only reason Brentford had a sniff was because Romero, I don't want to put it all on him, but it felt like he just fell asleep again and didn't want to challenge an aerial ball. Maybe didn't expect something so early to come into the game, such a threat. And Vicario, obviously, having a couple of mad moments, which we'll get on in a bit, because I want to explain why that was in no way a red card by the letter of the law, even though it was a calamitous error that could have resulted in us conceding a goal. But there was some really, really brilliant performances in that game all over the pitch. The pressing was fantastic. The XG we had, which was, I believe, 4 or 3.98 by the end of the game, is our best by far this season. And what makes that even more impressive is XG does not include goal scoring positions you get yourself in if you don't take a shot. And there were several of those where, again, you look at us and go, don't make the final pass, take the shot. But we were constantly threatening. And that stereotypical, should we say it like Ange goal, where you cut down to the byline and a low cross into the 6-yard box. We had 3 or 4 of those opportunities where just unfortunately no one was on the end of them. But it was brilliant play throughout the whole game, really. It was absolutely fantastic. You can't really criticize much of it. Other things I think deserve some credit as well is the substitutions. I think we've all been quite... There was one substitution I think some people are quite understandably would have liked to see a bit different, which was they would have probably liked to see Spence come on instead of Gray at right back, because he's suspended for the Europa League, and therefore playing him in the Premier League and providing rotation, especially after a really good performance against Coventry when he came on and did a good job there. It would have been the right thing to do. But aside from that, what was quite refreshing, I think, for a lot of fans was seeing the likes of Mikey Moore come on instead of Timo Werner, which was quite refreshing as well. It's like maybe that is looking to the future and taking a punt on potential and building towards something rather than going for a player who's pretty much a stopgap, as we know. Sonny, I agree, Neil. Sonny looked shot shy again. It's strange with him, isn't it? It's like he's gone from being this famous finisher who would take a shot for... Well, the whole of Son's journey is quite strange, because if you look at the academy he's got in Korea that he sets up for young aspiring footballers, they're not allowed to shoot until they hit a certain age. But when Sonny came to the Premier League, his standout features, if you were, or not features, standout attributes were his pace, but his ability to finish from pretty much anywhere on the pitch. He was the best at it. Him and Kane's duo link up was just unplayable. And we know the famous Sonny goal. It's that, about 35 yards out, just outside the box, whipping in a beautiful shot into the top corner with his left or right foot. But we don't seem to do that anymore with him. And it is so frustrating to see, because he is so good at it. And you think in this system, he could be bagging hat tricks all the time, but he's always looking, and maybe it's the captaincy, and maybe it's him trying to, offer more to his teammates and help others. And you wouldn't surprise you with Sonny if it was associated to that, but he always looks like he's trying to put someone else in and give someone else the opportunity rather than just taking that final hit of the ball that he's so good at. But which is a shame, but equally, maybe that's what they're trained to do at the moment. I think we saw today as well, Sonny, that we can't get away from his age. He's a brilliant footballer. I'm not in any way saying that it's time to drop him or replace him or anything like that. He's excellent, but it's time to say, hey, maybe this guy's fantastic for 70 minutes, and we need to know what our game plan is for the final 20 minutes of a game or a match that's going to go to extra time, because he just doesn't have the legs he used to see those through at such a high intensity kind of style of play that we play now. And maybe that's Mikey Moore. Maybe it is, but I get the feeling it was more meant to be Odegaard, who's now going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. But maybe that player is now Mikey Moore. But I think a lot of people realize it's not Timo Werner, but it needs to be someone. So we've got to find a solution to that. In terms of player performances, I thought we could maybe just run through some. Hey, Eltel Cockerell, good to see you, mate. I'm pretty sure we chatted, didn't we, on Twitter earlier? I want to say, definitely recognize your name. Definitely recognize it. So just thought it'd be worth putting out a little bit of content anyway this evening, because you know what it's like when you win a game. I want to talk about Spurs. I want to hear about Spurs, but when it's on the weekend, there's not much content to the Monday, and then on the Monday you're sport for choice with about 20 different outlets that you like to listen to. So let's get something out today, something to listen to as you wake up in the morning if you're in Australia, hey guys, or if you're in the UK, something to listen to when you go to bed. Hey, Shafay, good to see you again, mate. Yeah, much needed win, mate. Absolutely critical. That game for Ange was so important, because I feel like the fan base is divided currently into 2 camps, right? You've got the camps who say, my job as a fan is to support my manager and my players, regardless of what's around them. Whether I agree with the direction of things or whatever it is, my job is to try and help them be the best they can. And that's by being supportive, it's by being positive, it's providing a protective shield for these players and the manager. so that when the toxic media come in, when opposition fans all pile in, they've got a kind of a safe place to be and to evolve and grow and get better without all the extra pressures and criticisms and negativity from the outside world. But I feel like our fan base has stepped up to this toxic level. I don't know if it's a Tottenham fan base or if it's the rise of a new type of fan. I don't want to call them fans, a new type of person on social media. And I've got a theory as to what it is. And these other people, they seem to almost be disappointed today that we won. And they're particularly disappointed that Brennan Johnson was a positive part of that performance. And they're particularly disappointed that Dominic Solanke was a part of that performance, because it went against the whole kind of narrative and story they were building, that we're going in the wrong direction, we weren't signing the right players, Ange didn't know what he was doing. And when those things happen and provide, they pour water over those flames and say, that's a load of rubbish, look at this. It's almost like those people have gone from not having a voice to suddenly having a voice. And their voice is surrounded by other people who are also a part of that kind of negative outlook on the club. It's people who've realized, I get traction and interaction by disapproving of the direction things are going, disapproving of the manager, disapproving of a player. And I'm famous for that. I'm a somebody now. Before that, I was getting nothing. I was getting no traction. Now I'm getting money. I'm getting clicks. I'm getting support online from other people who want to be in this negative, twisted circle with me. And then when Spurs do well, they're in a conundrum, because they are Tottenham fans. They are Tottenham fans. But then they go, well, when we're doing well, I'm not made to look right, and the traction I'm getting online is falling off a cliff. But Tottenham are doing well. Now, what's more important to me? And I think these people are suddenly realizing that what's more important to them is that social media presence, that, being the guy who was right in the pub or in the workplace or whatever it is. And therefore, it's just growing and growing and growing. And I think the way all these social media platforms are in tune to do now, it's to pitch two different types of people against each other. Because it used to be about, hey, you get lots of likes, people like watching your content, the algorithm's going to push it. Now it's all about interactions. It's about comments. Dislikes are as good as likes. They know that if someone says something that's going to make you really annoyed, you're going to be thinking about that for the next 10 minutes, and you're going to log back into the app to check for a response. You're going to be pondering over what you're going to say back to that person. You're not going to let it go. It's not, if you get along with someone, a conversation normally goes, Brennan Johnson was great today. And I go, Jellybean, I agree with you, mate. He was really good today. End of conversation. But if I'm engaging with these toxic, negative people, or people who disagree with me, the conversation goes, I think Brennan Johnson's great. Other person says, he was rubbish. What are you talking about? You're an idiot. You're an idiot. Endless conversation, which is great for these platforms. It means more advertisements that you're going to see, more time on their platform. You're going to be more addicted to it. So I think that's built up to this such toxic level. So toxic. Hi, Jose, Spurs, GCTV. Hi, Peter K. Who else we got? Neil again. I don't know about other clubs, but I feel there's a huge difference between fans and supporters. I completely agree. I think fans, you say, like, I get what you're saying, Neil, but I'd say, like, some of the most positive people I've met during this last, like, since Ange was appointed, was supporters of Ange Postecoglou rather than Tottenham. And they've brought a lot of positivity to the football club, because they're people who are saying, stick with this guy, be patient, give it time, trust him, try not to get wound up in the moment. But they've also got that stereotypical Australian spirit of, we want to win. And they just really want to be behind him because they're so confident he can show the world he can do it. And he is the guy who will do it. But they're also bereft by coming into what they expected to be a really positive environment, with fans going, I'm excited too, to people jumping on them and saying, this guy's a fraud, he doesn't know what he's doing, don't like him, signed players I don't like. And that's really, really part of the negativity. So I kind of feel like you've got the fans in a camp alongside the Postecoglou supporters. And then on the other side, you've kind of got two groups of people. You've got people who just despise the direction the ownership are taking us in so much that doesn't matter who's in charge. They want ammunition to rid that person for what they think is the greater good of the club. And it doesn't matter what happens, they want that to change. And there's also just some people who have put their neck on the line and said, X player's rubbish, this manager I don't believe in. And they don't want to backtrack on that. They almost just want it to fail so they can move on to the next guy and be right in their circles. Interaction, you were talking about people with personality disorders, their use of gaslighting and lots of deniability of what they're trying to do. Quinton, I do think there's I don't want to start digging people out with, saying they've got disorders and that, but I do think there's such a mix in personalities, and some people, football means so much to different people for different reasons. Like, to someone, it might just be like, how could you be taking this so seriously? It's just a game of football. Like, we all know those people who just don't understand why we love football. They're like, it's just a stupid game of football. But then there's people who will travel, they will put their house on the line to make sure that they're going to Tottenham home and away. They will sing their heart out. They will back this team regardless, whatever. But when you've got that kind of polarizing level of why I support the club, it ends up in polarizing opinions as to what's right and what's wrong as well. And it gets very fractious. And also, we come from different circles, right? We all come from different types of upbringing. Some people have loved Tottenham because they grew up in North London and they've come from that area, which, it's changed a lot in the last 20 years, but it wasn't an easy area to grow up in, North London. It was really, really tough. And it's a part of who they are. It's a part of their, not religion, but you know what I mean? It's a part of their identity, this football club. And people coming in and not treating it the way they want it to be treated, they'll see it very differently to a fan who's come in and chosen to support Tottenham for another reason. I've said it before, not on this channel. Last season, I wanted to see intent, and I saw it, Quincy. Yeah, I agree, mate. That was the intent from all the players, and the manager was absolutely fantastic in that game. I've seen a lot of people complaining about the mannerisms of the manager on the touchline, saying he's not showing like he cares enough and he's not being passionate enough. But we've seen that in Conte. We've seen that in Jose. It doesn't always necessarily mean a good thing. I think we see it in Klopp and Pep, and we think that must be the blueprint for success. But I think Ange is more like an Ancelotti type manager. It's Mr. Calm and Collected. I'm not getting flustered by what's going on around me. Here's my plan. Here's my vision. You're on board or you're not. Let's not he said this before loads, Ange, hasn't he? Don't look at the clock. Don't define how you play based on where that ticker is. Don't define who you play based on how much you despise the opposition. You got to know your game plan and deliver it to the absolute best of your ability whilst you're on that pitch until the whistle stops. Ignore all the rest around you. If you do that, you'll win. And that goes back to, I think, kind of what Conte said when he said, we kept bottling all the, we always typically lose Chelsea away, Arsenal away, Chelsea at home, West Ham. We always seem to kind of mess up these derbies. And I think a lot of it comes down to us having hot heads and hot hearts, it meaning so much to the fans. Whereas Conte said, you need hot hearts and cool heads. And I think that's kind of what Ange is trying to instill on this team. It's like, we were going into that North London derby and people were criticizing him, saying, oh, he doesn't take it serious enough. He doesn't get the rivalry. I think what he's used to seeing is he's looked back and seen this Tottenham team's pretty prone to getting a red card, making silly challenges, losing their heads in these games, where I need them to look at this as they would any other massive game and just keep cool and let Arsenal lose their heads instead. So next question we had is Quincy again. This season I want to see improvement, and so far I'm saying it. I agree, mate. Jellybean, I love the emoji. What's the story with Richarlison? I'm so confused. There is some conspiracy theory about him too. I think there's been a bit of lack of information around the type of injury Richarlison's had, so people are jumping to the conclusion that it might be their mental health stuff again, rearing its head, because Ange isn't giving timelines either. But from what I've read, some people dug up some reports that he was noted to get a muscle injury in training that's flared back up. He came back to full training and it's flared back up. So gutting for him. I hope it's not one of those like Ollie Skip had and Harry Winks had as well, where we spend months massaging them, trying to ease them back, and it won't go away. And then they say, look, 6 months into the season, they're going to need surgery to fix this. And then that's the whole season just completely gone. But it is what it is. I think regardless of what happens with Richarlison, if we can get him fit again, I feel like he could do with a good loan to another Premier League club. Maybe it's Everton, like being their cult hero in this relegation fight. And I think we need to look at whether he's right for us. And if he's not, getting in someone who's a bit more, consistent and reliable, and we can rotate with a bit more confidence he's not going to get injured. And that's not against Richie as a person. He's a great guy. And if he stayed fit every week, he'd be the perfect backup striker. But he doesn't. So, that is what it is. Next, this game, if nothing else, showed this is a great system when brought into and executed, but it's a project. And if he goes, we're going to need another project manager. Agree. We said this before, right? There's crazy stats around Arteta in his second season. He has a lot, and I hate making comparisons to Arsenal, but there's so many similarities in this project. Both Spurs and Arsenal are within 10% of each other's revenue and transfer budgets. So we're very similar in terms of what we can do in the market. We've got the same competitors as each other in City and Liverpool, and Man United and Chelsea and all these other clubs. We've got the exact same competitors. So to beat them is probably going to require a pretty similar formula for both of us. And when you look at what they did and the journey along the way, when he came in, their squad was hamstrung by 3 very expensive senior players in Lacazette, Aubameyang and Pepe, who had no resale value. No one wanted to buy them, or they didn't want to leave, and they were stifling his wage budget, so he couldn't really rebuild his squad. So the first year was more about outgoings than it was incomings. They made a few incomings, but it was mainly about outgoings. And then the second season, as they started to rebuild, they still had a long way to go. They were on 14 points from 15 games, I believe, and 15th place at Christmas. Majority of the fan base wanted him gone. It was complete, divided opinions on social media. Everything turned really toxic. But I'd say something Arsenal had over us as fans that I think we could perhaps learn from is I remember being insufferable. Trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. They started all that. And they would not let it drop when people wanted him gone. And they clung on to him. I think the fans were the reason why Arsenal didn't pull the trigger when they were 15th in the league at Christmas. They encouraged him to hold on just 1 or 2 more weeks. And I know there was also the FA Cup win that he had in his first season, but that was always caveated with, you've got Emery's squad that, you've walked in mid-season at a point where, you're already doing well in that competition. You've had a good draw. That's not really like a catalyst. Let's give you an extra few months, but that's not going to be a big deal. He was still at risk halfway through that next season when he was 15th in the league. But I think the fans made a big difference in keeping on. Whereas I think we do the opposite. We've got so many trying to encourage us to move on to something new, which is just so crazy because A, there's not any viable alternatives out there, but B, it's working what he's doing. It's just taking longer than what some people want it to do. But you see glimpses of it working. It's not going to work every week, but if you give it another year or two, it'll work 9 weeks out of 10. And that's when you start getting into title winning form. What else we got? Peter, there is no guarantee in football that Ange might not win anything, but at least give this man a chance to see what he can do. Worse. We can't do worse than previous managers. Yeah. I mean, this guy's since Poch, he's by far the manager I can believe in the most. Of course, when Conte came in and we went from Nuno to Conte, there was a moment of real excitement that we'd gotten a kind of manager in who'd won trophies so recently. We still had Kane and Son in their prime, players like Lloris in the team who was still good enough. And we were excited by that. But Ange is the first manager since Poch that embodies what the club embodies. The attacking football, the whole kind of just being a good all-round person that respects other people. The way he treats players, Conte would banish players, Ange puts his arm around them. So I think he's someone we've got to show that patience back with. Neil says football isn't about football, it's about emotion and heart. And I agree. And I think that's part of the problem because football is all about emotional sense of belonging and your personal connection to a football club. But the decisions you have to make are very factual and business orientated. You've got to kind of get that balance of the two things spot on to be successful. Meta Football TV, good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Good evening. Hope you're having a good one. So back to the forwards. I thought it might be good fun to do some player ratings. I'd like to get your input as well in the comments section. So if we start with Vicario. Now, rating Vicario is a bit of a tough one because he had 2 brilliant two brilliant saves and 2 clangers. So I kind of level that out as saying but I'd say because of the one outside the box, I drop him from like a 6 to a 5.5. And I'm not saying he was disaster. We'll be clear, like I'm not going to go slate Vicario, but he made 2 very good saves, but we could easily have been down and out if those moments had gone wrong. But where would you rate Vicario? 6.5, Meta Football TV? Yeah, I think that's fair. I would say somewhere between 5.5 and 6.5. Without the blunders, it was a 9. With the blunders, it's a 6.5. When we're looking at other positions, then I'm thinking Udogie was solid. I'd give him a solid 7. He was pretty good. Yeah, he did Quincy. Yeah, he did handball out to the box. It was a complete mistake. It's not a red card by letter of the law because he had 2 defenders behind him. It's a yellow card and a free kick. Just to be clear on that, though, on what the official rules are when a goalkeeper does that. So it would have been. It was bad. That could have easily cost us a point or 2 points today. But yeah, it drops him from being like an 8 or a 9, doesn't it, to a 6.5 to 6.5, which is fair enough. So yeah, I'll give him a 6. Let's round it down to a 6. He did really cost us the game, but he also saved us the game in a different moment. Left wing back in Udogie. Now this is I'd say a solid 7. I don't know if anyone's, there's any point really arguing that. He worked hard. He got caught out once or twice, but he did some pretty nice runs throughout the game. Yeah, I can't really complain with that. Right wing back, Porro. He was solid. Again, not his best game, but definitely not a bad game. I'd have given Porro probably a solid 7 as well. Decent performance, maybe a 6.5, I'd say. Now here's where we get Romero and Van de Ven. Now this is the interesting one. Romero, I think, was probably our weaker player, one of our weaker players today. I think he is is fair enough if you want to kind of fault him for the goal. I think he still struggled aerially with his concentration when balls come into the box. So I'd give Romero. I'd give him his lowest. I'd say Vicario was a 6.5 and Romero was a 6. I'd give Van de Ven a slightly better rating. I thought he made some great last-ditch tackles, and probably give Van de Ven more of a 7. But he doesn't get off completely scot-free. But I think he's a solid 7 for Van de Ven. Now, this is where player ratings start to go up, I think, is when you start to enter the midfield and the midfield and the forward line. I thought Bentancur had his best game since his injury. Thought he was almost back to his best. It was absolutely brilliant to see Bentancur playing like that again. He was fantastic on the ball. I can't really think of anything I'd fought him with. I'd give him a solid 8.5 for Bentancur. He was absolutely brilliant. I think for me, he was. There's someone else in Maddison, I think, had a really good game, but I think Bentancur edges it to me for man of the match, even though it's very close between those two. Kulusevski, I think Kulusevski's gone very quickly up the pecking order in Ange is, priorities. Pre-season, Kulusevski was struggling to hold down a spot in the side. Like, he was a bit of rotation option. Is he a 10? Is he a winger? Is he more of a central midfielder? Like, what is this guy? Where do we put him? And then as the season's gone on, I think Ange has realised he's one of the only senior figures he can, truly. Oh, I think I've frozen there. He can truly rely on. He works his butt off every game. He's great on the ball. He's very strong. He beats his man. I think we'd like to see him being a little bit more clinical with the finishing. But to me, Kulusevski is another 7 out of 10 performance for him. James Maddison. Now, I think, like Bentancur, that was probably his best performance since his injury. And I'd give him a solid 8 out of 10. I think he was, I'd say a 7 is 6.5 to 7 is what I say is solid. So I'd say it's a very good performance. Giving him an 8 out of 10. He won the ball back with the high press on multiple occasions. He looked dangerous with his runs. He could have done better with a couple of finishes, but he was a creator of a lot as well. I thought he was brilliant. Johnson, yeah, look, he scored the match winner on Wednesday night with a last-minute winner. Went into this game with still a lot of pressure on his shoulders and scored a brilliant goal as well. And what I really liked about this performance from Johnson this time, that was a little bit nice, different to see, which is refreshing to see, was he's started challenging his man again. And I think since that injury that he picked up on his face, he'd started to drop off a bit on that level. Like he wasn't taking on his man like he used to. He used to kind of just stop when he came up against a defender and then back off. But now he's really taking on his man each time, and it's been very refreshing to see. Yeah, so I'd give Johnson a 7.5. I think it was a good performance. Sonny, a similar performance. He looked a bit tired at the end, but look, 2 assists. You've got to give him at least a 7.5 to 8 out of 10. Got 2 assists, for goodness sake. Then last one is probably Solanke for me. Yeah, best performance for us so far, arguably. Could have easily had 2 or 3 goals. Again, I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10 for Solanke. Maybe an 8. I'll give him an 8, actually. I think I put him up there with Maddison and Bentancur for that performance. Yeah, I think my image is lagging a bit there. It should be back now, or is it might be lagging a bit. I might change my internet connection. Fotmob gave some man of the match of 9. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, he was really good. I guess the 2 assists are what count there. So fair enough to him. Hi from QZ. Enjoyable game. Hey, Dwang. Good to see you, mate. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I guess you're just kind of starting your day, are you, at the moment? Yeah, there's a bit of a lag there, I think, on my thing. I'll have to stop my camera, restart it, see if it fixes it. Does that fix it? I don't know. Yeah, so right, that was it really, guys. I just wanted to do a little bit of a debrief on the game. If you have any final questions, let me know. Brother from down under, we got loads of, as I said earlier, I think you Australian fans who support Ange have been a breath of fresh air for our club. It's been great to have some positivity from you all coming in. The defense you have of Ange, the way you've helped explain to us how to expect this process to go, but also sticking with him and helping us block out the tribalistic, negativity and noise when he needs some patience and support from our fans. 3 points, better performance and all. Trust the process. Completely agree, guys. Trust the process. Believe in Ange. If you're interested on Shafay, I think Maddison was deployed much higher up the pitch and closer to goal today. He was, yeah. Ange has definitely tweaked the formula. It's it's something's definitely changed and it's working. So yeah, we'll keep that up. Cool. I think that's it, guys. Roll on the Europa League next week against Karabag. Let's try and make sure I hope it's 3 wins in a row going into that Man United away game, which is always terrible for us, in terms of it's just a really tough place to go. We are going in the right direction, Quincy. I agree. On Monday, we're doing a pod with Ben Bowman. So you're already aware. You've probably seen him on pods like The Fighting Cock and on TalkSport and stuff. But yeah, he'll be joining us. So I've put on our Twitter page, you can join a community. So if you go onto the Oso Spurs Twitter page, you'll see tagged at the top of that community, request to join. The reason I do request to join is I make sure there's no toxic certain people in there that just make it all a miserable experience. So it's quite a nice safe space. But we've put an opportunity for you to put questions forward for us and Ben on Monday for the main pod that we'll be doing and dropping then. Yeah, so that's it. And we've got some other guests lined up as well coming soon. So if you're interested, yeah. And thanks again to our members. So Shafay and Jellybean and Neil in this chat. I see. Great to see you guys. Legends for supporting the show. Yeah, want to keep growing the show. It's been growing really, really fast, which has been fantastic. Thanks to all your guys' support. One last thing actually as well. Yeah, we raised £2,000 so far for our mental health initiative. So 4 of us on the show will be getting mental health first trained. And we'll be launching an official charity alongside Talking Cherries to support fans in the Spurs ecosystem who may be looking for some support, or it may just be looking for some people they can chat with just while they need, it doesn't even have to need anything. You might just be someone who just, life is tough and it throws horrible random things at all of us at different times in our lives, and a welcome distraction in football and friends is often a nice thing. So yeah, we want to build this official community where we are a first point of call for Tottenham fans if they ever feel they would like a chat, a coffee, a beer, or they are maybe in a slightly more serious situation where they're stuck. And we have people on there who have reached out to us to say, it might be related to things like gambling, drinking, illness. It just might be just how you're feeling, but we want to be a part of the conversation with you. We care about you, and we want to just support one and each other as a fan base and really look after each other. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for your support. Much love to the members. If you listen to the thanks, Metaphor TV. Yeah, chat to me later. Give me a buzz. If you could do us a massive favor, if you listen to the audio pod and give it 5 stars, because that's what boosts up the algorithm, is giving it 5 stars on Spotify or whatever it is, Apple Podcasts or whatever it is. And if you fancy being a member on here, we're going to have some member exclusive stuff coming as well. So I'm going to be doing many more lives. I'm going to be making some of the lives exclusive to members soon, but I wanted to give it open to everyone for the meantime, just while we get started and get up to like our first 100 members or whatever it is. It's because I don't want to make it exclusive and then just have a member chat of just a handful of people. I also want to create you a safe environment that's completely vetted from toxic people. It's apply only. Our members can all apply, but it will be like a kind of like a forum where you can leave comments, debrief on the game with each other, chat about it, comment on articles, get cool insights and Spurs. But all this stuff costs money, and I put every single penny I get from this, from what I do on here, goes back into the show. So I don't make money off this. I lose a lot of money off this because I'm really passionate about it. And every penny I get from the show, I put into it, and then I put potentially my own money into it. And I want to keep improving it to the point where I'm even designing my own proper podcasting studio that I want to build next year, so I can have a proper watch along format area, a chat which you can do face to face with people area, and then the kind of generic podcast recording area as well. But all the funding helps me build towards those things. I want to displace some of the big, prevalent, toxic, negative voices with some positive energy, rounded discourse in a community surrounded by people like yourselves. So thank you very much for support. Much love to you all. Wishing you all a lovely, lovely Sunday. Let's hope Arsenal fans around the country are launching their Sunday roasts at the wall in anger tomorrow as they are obliterated by Manchester City. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? We want lots of roast beefs and gravy splattered on the wall around Highbury this weekend. Peter, bloody legend, new member for us there. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate your support, man. Joe Rogan's been real quiet since Jim started live streaming. He has, mate. He has. Never seen us in the same room. Have you? No. Also, another person who's coming on, guys, and this was a big recommendation from a lot of the Oz supporters, is Hotspur Hippie. So Paul has kindly said he will come on, but I think being a hippie in Paul, he has he can be a little bit more tricky to get hold of on the old techie side of things. So, but he's brilliant. He's absolutely wonderful. He brings so much positivity, and I can't wait to get him on. Really, really like his stuff. I recommend him if you don't follow him already. Oh man, Peter's gifted 5 new memberships. How do I distribute these? What do I do with? Man, you're legend. I don't know how I gifted 5 memberships. How do I? Does this mean I can give them to people? I'll have to do some Googling on this. But if you gifted them, I don't know if people can grab them or what happens. But that's super cool, man. Honestly, that's like really, really, really nice. Like, auto distributed already. That's just so kind. Like, wow, that's just really, really nice. Thank you so much. That is just awesome. That's brilliant. Thank you. No, really. I'm not really used to people doing that kind of stuff. So that's really, really nice. That's That's really cool. If I can pay you back, Peter, in any way, I don't know if you. Where are you based, Peter? Are you based overseas, or are you based in the UK? Because if you ever go to games, or you have a plan of coming to a game, love to buy you a drink, whatever you have, and yeah, we do. By the way, for those of you who might be interested in this as well, we meet up at games with lots of Peter. You're in Australia. We did actually have one of our Australian listeners though come over for a game recently, and we arranged to meet up with him. So if you are ever wanting to come over, you're welcome. You'll be welcomed in open arms by us. If I can do anything back for you, mate, if I can shout out and use my channel to promote something for you, anything like that, just have a think about it. It's always here. We'll pass things forward to each other. So thank you very much, Peter. You're very, very, very kind person. Unless there's any final questions, guys, I'll drop off. I would also like you, if you wouldn't mind, could you put in the chat or write to me on Twitter if you want to recommend any good guests? I'm looking for obviously certain criteria of people. I've turned down people who are just not the right fit for the show. I've had invites from very big names to go on shows, and the last minute they're bailed, or circumstances have changed. But so I like to keep a good pipeline of good people in mind to do this. We are trying to arrange with David Shear to come over for a game next year, mate. That would be class. And we'll all make sure you're taken care of, and we'll have a good time. If we can help with that at all, let us know. Meta Football TV, that's a good shout. Yeah, let's do it. We follow each other on social media, so we'll bring you on, mate. If you're up for it, send me a DM after this. I'll probably won't respond to you tonight because might be a bit tired, but we'll definitely do a collab. Yeah, come on, and we'll do a little one-on-one chat for a live show. Maybe we'll do that next week if you fancy it. Bing guy, how come so many so-called YouTubers from the UK think they are superior? Yo, Little Island syndrome, mate. We're arrogant buggers. We put a camera on ourselves, get a few memberships, and we think we're special. Is that what you wanted to hear? Is that what you wanted to hear? It takes a special type of guy or girl to enjoy putting a camera on themselves at 11 o'clock at night and giving their opinions on things. Maybe we're just those type of people, mate. I don't know. No, on a serious note, I do not think I'm remotely superior to anyone in this chat or who else does it. I literally, a lot of you know why I started this pod. You've read my story. You can read about my illness and what kind of led to this point. But also, I'll tell you, the first time I did a pod was actually listening to. Do some of you guys listen to the one Jack does to Trunk? He does one after game sometimes, like a live show. I really want to get him on the show. Actually, he's very good. And I've always been a fan of the Fighting Cock. And the first pod I did was listening to his on a live show. And I pinged him and said, "Look, I really, really want to try this. I just after a game, I really want to talk about Spurs. Can I come on?" I just couldn't get. I just never got answers back. So I thought, screw it, I'll just record my own. Got my phone and just rambled off a thing on the recorder app. It was absolutely abysmal. It got like 3 downloads. Started to research how to do it better, and then I met Johnny, Deej, Si, and Stu, and we collabed, and it all kind of grew. But what does you say there? I don't think Peter. Thanks for recommendation. Wasn't necessary. Yeah, but it's a great idea though. It was looking me right in the face, and I should have thought of asking you in the first place. I don't think Bingo talking about you, Jim. Yeah, but I am one of the YouTubers in the UK, so it's kind of, it may not mean to me, but yeah, there's lots of it's given people a voice who didn't have a voice, and some of those people I think don't want to use that in a very positive way, or they don't know how to use it in a right way. They only know to use it in a way that gets them traction and attention. Your eyes do not lie, Chris. You are a good man. You are a very good man, Chris, and I know that for a fact. So yeah. You are a legend. No, you two, you're a little too far away for a relationship, I believe, because Chris is in the UK and Peter, you're in Australia. So you need to stop this this loving back and forth. You're going to give each other heartbreak. But no, loving the support, guys. And yeah, roll on Sunday. Have a great time with your families and friends. Make the most of it. If family and friends aren't around this Sunday for you, have a beautiful walk, enjoy the outdoors, the countryside, reminiscing over the beauty, which is a Tottenham Hotspur victory, and whatever else you can do to just enjoy yourself and get out and have fun. Don't get sucked into the negativity online. Do something nice and fun. Not you, Jim. You know, I was referring negative buggers all over the map. Yeah, I agree, mate. There's a ton of them everywhere. We're never going to escape them. They're never going anywhere. They love it. They get a weird kick off being weird. So we've got each other. We'll form this community. We'll grow this community. And together as positive individuals who look at the bigger picture and want to provide support to one another, we will have one that is impenetrable, because they are a minority that we will not be deterred by collectively, quite frankly. And I don't want to put them all into one bucket as bad people, because I know some really, really good people who have purple and gold in their bios, and I know them in real life, and I think what wonderful human beings you actually are when I got to know you. But I just can't bear your football opinions, so just don't talk to me about football. It looks like a community I'd love to form part of. Great. Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah. We always like to rotate on guests, Chris. So if we can bring you on a few times a season as a guest, you're always welcome, mate. And yeah, and if you come to games and stuff, we all meet up for pints before. There's about a group about 20 of us now that do that with fellow listeners. So anyone in this chat is welcome to join us, including you, Chris. Be great to see you, mate. We will win Champions League finals and they still will complain. Yes, they will, Bingai. They will never be happy. If we win a Champions League final, we should have done the treble and we won't retain it. They'll never be happy. Anyway, must go. It's very late. Much love to you all.